Hey guys, welcome to the next video. You join me in the shadow of the lovely Wembley Stadium today. Thought I'd do the introduction to my video outside as I'm going on a little bit of a walk. So before we get to the video, I just wanted to let you know this is going to be another two-parter. So in the first part of this video, I'm going to focus on how I felt during week 1, 2 and 3 after my kidney transplant. And then the next video dropping next week, I'll talk about how I felt during week 3, 4, 5 and 6. So stay tuned to see how I felt throughout the whole 6 weeks. It does get a little bit emotional, I'm not going to lie to you, but I hope that it's informative and you can learn something from it, and you can share this experience around with anyone else that's going through the same thing. So let's get straight to the video, and I hope you enjoy it. Right, so let's start with week 1, and let me take you all the way back to the 10th of December when I had my transplant, and let me tell you what happened in that week. So I was in hospital for the whole of the week. I was mainly bedbound as well. I wasn't able to move around that much. I had a catheter that was attached to me. I also had a drain coming from my new kidney that was attached to another, a tube that was attached to another bottle that I couldn't really move around. And I was on loads of different other medications that was attached to machines. So you don't really move around that much in the first week. You mainly laying in bed. You get out of bed maybe once or twice a day just to sit in the chair. But you mainly just need to rest for that week. Everything is being monitored so closely that you end up having maybe 3 or 4 blood tests throughout the day. This can be in the morning, this can be in the evening, and it could be when you're sleeping at night as well. But they have to do those blood tests, so they make sure they get them done for you. Another thing that happened in the first week is you have your catheter put inside you when you're having your surgery, and your catheter does come out in the first week as well. It comes out after 5 days. So after the 5th day, your catheter can be removed and you can slowly then walk around a bit more because you don't have to take anything with you and you feel a lot more comfortable. But the first week in general, you're having blood tests every couple of hours or so. You're trying to eat as much as you can and you're basically just resting in bed. So how was I feeling physically during this first week? Well, I wasn't in that much pain, you'll be happy to hear. There wasn't that much pain for the whole of the first week, in fact, because you're so full of drugs from the initial operation that your body is already looking after itself with all the drugs that's already in it, and you have a pain relief button that you can press whenever you need to whilst you're laying in bed or walking around, and it instantly soothes any pain that you've got, and you can use it as much as you want, and it's impossible to overdose on it because it's all on a time when it's all being monitored. So in terms of pain, I wasn't in hardly any pain at all, but the worst feeling, and this is probably the worst feeling I've had throughout the whole procedure, is feeling uncomfortable and bloated. So bloated. So initially after your operation, you obviously can't move around that much. You have your catheter in, so you don't need to get up to use the toilet, but it's almost impossible to pass any wind, and it's impossible to empty your bowels as well. And it took me, I think 5 or 6 days, I think it took me to finally empty my bowels, and you can imagine the relief there. But that feeling of uncomfortableness and bloatedness, that by far outweighed the pain, and that was easily the worst feeling that I felt for the whole week, because you can't move around that much and you can't use any muscles in your groin area to push out anything or do anything because you're just in pain from your kidney surgery, and you just end up sitting there completely bloated, unable to eat much, unable to drink much, but you have to try and eat and drink still because it's just so important. So in terms of pain, hardly any pain at all, only when you move around or you do something that you shouldn't be doing. The worst feeling physically for me was the bloated and uncomfortable feeling whilst I was laying in bed all day. So how was I feeling emotionally this week? Well, the main emotion that I was feeling was relief. I was relieved that I was awake from my surgery and I was feeling okay. I was relieved that my brother, Jason, was okay after his surgery, after donating his kidney to me. And I was just relieved that the whole process was now over and we can focus on our recovery. It does get very emotional in the first week, especially after my brother went home on the Wednesday. I felt like I was a bit more alone with my thoughts. I spent the whole morning by myself on Thursday and Friday because my brother wasn't there with me anymore. And you do start to think, oh, I wish I could go see him. I wish he was okay. I wish he's okay still. I wish he's recovering okay. And that's the thoughts that I was having in my head. I wasn't really thinking so much about myself. I was thinking about my brother. I was thinking about him, making sure that he was okay. You do feel almost alone in some sense, especially because visiting hours and stuff like that, they change for whichever ward you're in, but mainly they start after lunchtime and then the visiting hours end after dinner time. So you spend half the day, the whole morning by yourself with your own thoughts, and you end up just thinking about things and overthinking things, I think. You get more positive as the week goes on. Luckily for me, the results from my blood tests and stuff were really, really good straight away. So you end up straight away getting this boost of positivity, and then as your results come back in day after day after day, and you see you're improving even more and more, you just get more and more positive. And then throughout the week, your catheter gets removed and your cannulas get removed, and you just end up feeling even more of a sense of strength almost. Like you can walk around and you can talk a bit more, you can concentrate a bit more. But in terms of the overriding emotion, there's definitely relief and definitely a sense of positivity moving forward, I would say. I think those two are the most prominent emotions during the first week. So moving on to week 2, what happened during week 2? Well, the first thing I did when I got home from hospital after the first week was take a shower. It was the best shower I've ever had. It's so hard to shower when you're at hospital and you've got all these cannulas inside you, and you've got drips and you've got drains and you've got everything that's hanging off you. So the first thing I did when I got home was have a lovely shower and get straight into bed and just rest in my own bed. Really, really, really good feeling. And for the rest of the week, that was it. All I really did is just you rest in bed, take things really, really easy, try not to move around too much, make sure that you're looking after your scar. So I had lots of dressings on my scar. I still had my staples in at the time as well. So you just want to make sure that you're not moving too fast. You're stepping out of bed nice and slowly. A good thing that my brother and I did, we had a little stool by our bed so that you don't have to lean out too far. You can put your leg on the stool and you can step down onto the floor and just take things nice and easy. That's the whole point of when you're home, is just take things easy and you can recover in your own bed, which is really, really nice. So physically, week 2, I felt a bit different than I did when I was in hospital. So when I first got home from the hospital, I had to, in fact, ring the hospital back because I was really concerned with how I was feeling. So I had these really, really strange fizzing, almost pins and needles sensation going on near my scar and around my new kidney area, which I'd never felt when I was in hospital. So I was really concerned and had to call them back just to say, look, I feel really, really queasy. It was almost as if like it was pins and needles, like I said, around my new kidney. And what they said to me on the phone is that this is completely normal, and it's because it's the most movement I've done all week. So from leaving hospital, I had to walk obviously from the ward to the car, I had to drive home, and then I had to walk up to my house, come up the stairs, all of that stuff. It was the most movement I'd done for a whole week. So my body was just readjusting to what was going on, and the nerves were just firing off, and it just made it feel like really queasy pins and needles. But it was completely normal at the end of the day. They just said you need to just sit down, rest it off, and the more you move, the more your body will get used to it. So I was also feeling really tired during week 2, probably for the same sort of reasons. It's because you're moving around just a touch more than you were at hospital. You're having to get up more to go to the bathroom. You're going to the bathroom almost 4, 5, 6 times a day. So you do end up moving around a bit more. And you also don't get to sleep that much because it's still pretty uncomfortable around your scar and you've got all your dressings on still. So you do end up missing out on your sleep. So for the first, for week 2, I was definitely feeling tired, more tired than anything else, and I had these strange pins and needles sensations going on, which turned out to be absolutely fine. So week 2, how was I feeling emotionally? Well, week 2 was a really, really good week for me. I felt really, really excited because I was home now. It was almost like getting back to my normal life, and I got to meet up with my brother again after his surgery. So we both hadn't seen each other since he'd left on the Wednesday of the week of our operation. So it was a nice feeling to see him again, knowing that we're now both back home and we're both recovering in our own beds. It's just a nicer feeling. It's like a nice positive step in the right direction, I would say. I was also though feeling very, very anxious during week 2 because you now know you're not in the care of the doctors there 24/7 and you're back at home yourself, and you now need to look after your own medicine, make sure you're taking it on time, make sure you're taking it with food, without food, whatever the precautions are with your medicine. And you have to make sure you're eating right still, making sure you're drinking enough because you've got no drips to do it for you. So all those things can make it a bit nerve-wracking, and you do feel a bit anxious throughout the week because you know that you have to now do it yourself. I obviously, I had the help of my wife doing everything with me as well, and I would say that if there is anyone that's also doing the same, going through the same experience, definitely get someone to help you with your medicine, get someone to understand when to take your medicine, what to do with it and everything like that, because it helps so much. It helps, emotionally it helps because you know you don't have to stress about, oh, if I forget this, something could go wrong, because you know that someone else may be able to help you as well. So definitely get someone to help you. Okay, so week 3. What happened in week 3? For me, it was very, very eventful. So I was having hospital appointments twice a week after my transplant, so every Monday and Thursday, just to check my bloods and check everything was working okay. And then during one of those tests in week 3, it showed that my creatinine had spiked up to 155. So if you've seen my other videos, you'll see how important creatinine is for your kidney function. Mine should be around 100. Anything above 150 for me, my doctors have told me that I'm gonna have to come back into hospital to try and figure out what was wrong. So I'd had a spike in my creatinine. They called me back on the same day as my appointment and said, you have to come in now because it's too high and we want to figure out what's wrong. So I had to go back into hospital. Whilst I was there, they put me on a drip and they pumped me full of fluids, and they said that the reason why my creatinine had spiked was because I was dehydrated. Now this was partly my fault and it was partly bad luck, because I was trying to drink about 3-4 litres a day, which I was managing, but because my new kidney was having issues concentrating the fluids in my body, rather than it concentrating it and then sending it around to my body, I was just peeing it out straight away. So even though I was drinking 3 to 4 litres, I wasn't keeping it in me, so I was getting dehydrated because I was just using the toilet too often. So yes, it's my fault because I probably should have been drinking more than 3 to 4. I've been advised now to drink 5+ litres, but it was also a bit of bad luck because my kidney wasn't working properly. So they pumped me full of fluids. Like I said, I spent one night in hospital, and this would happen to be Christmas Eve. So I woke up Christmas Day in hospital, and luckily the fluids that they pumped me with and the fluids that I was able to drink whilst I was there, my creatinine fell by the next afternoon to 140, so I was able to go home for Christmas evening and have Christmas dinner at home, which was nice. But you're always on the lookout for these spikes in creatinine because they can be really, really troublesome if you don't jump on them quickly enough. So after the checkup that I had, as soon as it was at 150, they invited me back in and they sorted it out as quickly as they could. And then I went home for the rest of the week and it just almost calmed down and I was able just to rest at home for the rest of that week. So physically, I wasn't feeling that much different from week 2. I was still feeling very tired because I wasn't getting enough sleep still, because I was still a bit uncomfortable. The pins and needle sensation around my scar and my new kidney, they were still there, but they weren't as intense as they were during week 2. And that's probably because I was walking around a bit more and getting up and out of bed a bit more often. But in terms of in terms of my physical well-being, I was still just very tired, still not being able to do much, but taking things nice and easy again still. So emotionally in week 3, that was probably my hardest week emotionally, because I just obviously recovered from, I'd just come out of hospital a week ago. I had a decent week at home recovering, felt good, didn't feel like I was ill. And then I had this issue with the creatinine spike. And then when you're at home after your creatinine spike, you're thinking to yourself, right, what could I have done better? What could I have done better to make myself feel better and my results be better? And the answers that I got from myself was that I couldn't do anything better. I was eating as much as I could. I was drinking a lot more now. I was resting. I was hardly doing anything to try and help my body accept this new kidney, but my results weren't getting any better. My creatinine had gone back up since Christmas Day, when it had gone down to 140, and it was slowly creeping back up to 160 and 170, and I didn't know what to do about it. And it does put you in a bit of a dampened mood because you want things to go well and you want to recover as quickly as you can, but it's not always in your control. And I think that's what I learned during week 3. And when you do go through phases like this and your results are good and your results are bad, you just need to remind yourself that they will eventually get better. Try your best to be positive, and as hard as it is, try not to let it get to you. I think I did let it get to me in week 3. I didn't want to do much, didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to help cook anything. I just wanted to lay in bed all day. And you almost don't want to get into that state of mind. So if I could change that, I probably would, but it is what it is at the end of the day. That is how I felt during week 3, and you'll see as I go through week 4, 5 and 6, my results did get better. So they will always get better as long as you know that you're doing all you can to look after yourself. Then you should try not to stress so much. Right, that's the end of part 1, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video at any point, hit that like button. Leave me a comment down below as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on all my other social media links. Stay tuned till next Wednesday where I'm going to drop part 2 talking about week 4, 5 and 6. So I'll see you there.